Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is page 15, video 4 of the JFK Files. This page actually has, or this whatever report has like 18 pages, so I may have to split it up into two, but we'll see how it goes. It says Secret Chief, Special Affairs Staff, Chief of Station, JM Wave, Operational Typic and AM Fauna. We've seen some of these names before. Debriefing of AM Fauna 14. Action required for your information. Following are the results of the debriefing of AM Fauna 14 in the JM Wave area from 22nd November to 2nd December 1963. AM Fauna did not leave her apartment all day Sunday, 6th of October. On Monday, 7th of October, she went to work as usual. When she arrived, she found a letter waiting for her, which had been forwarded to her office from her accommodation address. It was A.M. Fauna 1's handwriting and contained nothing of any interest, so she was sure there was a secret writing message on it. At 12:55, two men arrived at the office, one about 45 years old and short, who from his appearance might have been a bus driver, and the other, a very young, dark-skinned man. They walked into the office vestibule and told the guard if they wanted to see A.M. Fauna 14. The guard came into the office to give A.M. Fauna 14 the message, and the two men followed right behind. They told A.M. Fauna that she had to come with them to identify an arrested person. A.M. Fauna said that she would have to ask her supervisor for permission to leave because it was not yet closing time. She turned to go back into the office, and the two men followed her in. The supervisor told her that it would be all right for her to go, but said that she should check in by phone if there were any difficulty. A.M. Fauna's father and uncle, both of whom work in the same office, asked whether they could come with her. The man said no, because she would be coming right back. They said they were taking her to G2 headquarters in La Vibera. I'm just trying to look at some of these little codes on here. This is from December 9th, 1963. Aperture card reproductions. Let's see. A.M. Fauna 14 tried to dispose of the letter she just received from A.M. Fauna 1 by leaving it on the desk of a fellow employee together with some potatoes and a carrot for cover. But the man would not let her. She did, however, manage to destroy a page from her notebook containing telephone numbers at the DSE headquarters and via Maristas. A.M. Fauna 14 was turned over to a militia woman who had her strip and perform a body search on her. She was fingerprinted and photographed, and her biographic data were taken down, after which she was locked in a cell, which had an adjoining private bath. Nothing else of importance happened for the rest of the day. During her 4-hour detention period, A.M. Fauna 14 was handled by the following DSE officers. And it looks like I can't really read something about Havana, Cuba, but I think they've might have redacted the names. Oh, okay. It says Francisco Abad. A.M. Fauna believes that this is his real name. He did not introduce himself, but she saw the name on her release papers, which he signed. He was born about 1918 and is about 5 foot 4 inches tall, weighs about 160 pounds, and has a fat build, aquiline, aquiline nose, greenish eyes, dark skin, gray brown wavy hair, rough laborer's hands, and two missing from the lower jaw. Tooth from the lower jaw. He smokes both cigars and cigarettes. His manner was soft and kindly, and A.M. Fauna believes he is probably poorly educated. He's married, but A.M. Fauna 14 did not learn whether he has children or what his address is. He wears civilian clothes and drives a black 1956 Pontiac with a gray roof. Discussing this man later in the AMCOG household, AM Fauna 14 was told by Pedro Carrillo, who is a brother of Justo Carrillo, that Pedro knows Abad. According to Pedro, Abad is part Jewish and an old communist who worked in the Havana underground on behalf of Fidel Castro during the Batista period. Pedro Carrillo thinks that Abad may now have some regrets about the course he has taken. Carlos, aka Samuel, AM Fauna 14, does not know his true name. He was born about 1942 or perhaps a little earlier. He's about 5'6" tall, weighs about 150 pounds, and has a muscular build, drooping eyelids, light olive skin, wavy chestnut hair with the widow's peak. He is a nervous pacer and walks with his head bent forward and tilted slightly to one side. An expression which he is or frequently used was okay, pronounced oka, with the accent on the first syllable. He told AM Fauna 14 that he had been a student in the commercial school of Havana, that he had worked clandestinely under the Batista regime, had been arrested by Colonel Esteban Ventura Novo, and had been released due to the influence of his father, and had gotten out of the country with the aid of the Mexican ambassador to Cuba, coming then to the United States. He drives a 1959 black and white Chevrolet Corvair, wears civilian clothes, and carries a pistol, sometimes a 45 and sometimes a 36. AM Fauna 14 believes him to be a 100% communist. She thinks he may have been somewhat better trained than Francisco Abad and may have been somewhat superior in rank, although this was never clearly evident. There seemed to be a little professional jealousy between the two men. If she told one man something which she had been unable to remember for the other, the second would show signs of jealousy or resentment. Carlos subsequently told AM Fauna 14 to phone 614319 and ask for Samuel when she wanted to reach him. She phoned him at his number about 10 times in all. The phone was always answered by the same woman, except for once when a boy answered and then called for his mother to come and take the phone. AM 14 or AM Fauna 14 would ask for Samuel, and the woman would invariably reply that he was not there. AM Fauna 14 would then ask the woman to take a message for him to please call Dolores. The woman would always reply, "Yes, comrade." Discussing this person later with the AM Cog household, AM Fauna 14 was told by Israel Padilla that he never thought Carlos was Samuel Rodiles, something like that. Something provided. I can't really see what this is here. This is comment: the physical description of Carlos does not match that of Samuel Rodiles Plana. Telephone number 614319 is listed in the 1962 Havana telephone directory to one Maria Antonio Carcano Araujo. This is Artis 47, Casablanca, Havana. Wave traces on this name include HCSA 09896 of 23rd of April 1963, showing that one Maria Carcano Araujo, born 7th of December 1935, traveled to Chile in March and April of 1963 on a diplomatic passport. An AMOP report of 27th of September 1962 mentions one Antonia Carcano Araujo, as a communist in charge of vigilance and living at 47 Artist Street in Casablanca. There also appears to be a Maria Araujo, born about 1902, who is an old-time communist living in Artes 47. AM Fauna 1 has been given the names of several former residents of this neighborhood in hopes of finding relatives of the Carcano or Araujo families whose physical description matches that of Carlos. AM Fauna 1 has also interviewed Colonel Ventura in the Wave area. Ventura remembers case familiar to that of Carlos, but does not remember the boy's name. He says he seems to remember that the boy's father was connected with the one Jose Lopez Villaboy, I think that's how you say it, on whom Wave has numerous traces, and that he was assisted in getting to Mexico by a Mexican diplomat named Benjamin. Okay, something about Cuba here, and then something FS agent, and then seen at, okay, something about headquarters. FNU, INU, maybe. This man appeared a few times during AM Fauna's 14's interrogation. She never heard his name at this time, but later saw him on television interrogating AM Saitu, and he was identified then as Jose Antonio Fernandez Winert. She does not believe that this is his true name because it is her understanding that DSC officers use aliases in their public appearances. He's about 5'11", tall, slender, with darkish skin and black hair combed straight back. He was very he has very large green cold eyes. He was born about 1939 and appears to be uneducated with a cynical and vulgar manner. He wears civilian clothes. At about 1600, 1700 hours on Tuesday, October 8th, AM Fauna 14 was brought into Abad's office in her first interview. Abad began by asking if she knew why she was there. AM Fauna 14 replied that she had no idea. Abad observed that was strange because he had judged her to be an able and intelligent woman. And something about Cuba, I think, right here. Says honestly believing that she might have been denounced by the jealous wife for her lover, Manuel Companion. Maybe companion. Oh, Manuel, maybe, or they're asking the question if it was a companion. AM Final 14 suggested that it might be a personal matter. And then this, I think, says Cuba again, something. I guess that's where these people are from. The OB is 1920 something. Abad said that was not. He then asked her if she knew one Luis Braulio, BR Negrete, maybe. AM Fauna 14, that she did not. Abad said that this was strange because VR Negrete knew her. He asked if she knew one Angel Bringas. AM Fauna 14 said that she did. Abad asked why, if she knew Bringas, she would deny knowing his cousin Negrete. And then something about a textile factory near Cuba. And I think that's maybe an address, some case number here. I can't really, it's like too small even with my glasses. It says AM Fauna 14 that she knew the man as Luis Negrete and had not recognized the name Villar or Villar Negrete. Something about anti-Castro activities. something about here. And then Abad told AM 14 that Negret was then under detention and had implicated AM Fauna 14 in his confession. Abad wanted to know what AM Fauna 14's connection with Negret had been. AM Fauna 14 said that Negret had been in her house once and once in her mother's. At this point in the interrogation, Abad was called away and AM Fauna was returned to her cell. 2 hours later, the interrogation was resumed. Abad picked up where he had left off and asked AM Fauna 14 what connection she had with Angel Bringus. AM Fauna 14 said that she had known Bringus no better than she had known Negrete. Abad said that she was lying and urged that she cooperate. AM Fauna 14 promised that she would cooperate. Abad said with Negrete and told the DSE that AM Fauna 14 had had sexual relations with Bringus, and AM Fauna 14 denied the allegations. The interrogation was again interrupted, and AM Fauna 14 was returned to her cell. When she returned to the interrogation room, she saw that Abad had an envelope containing what she recognized to be papers taken from her apartment, including airline passenger manifests, deciphering material, instructions for using the deciphering material, and insurance policies, and personal papers belonging to AM Fauna 1. AM Fauna 14 now realized that it was time for her to pretend to cooperate with the DSC, as AM Fauna 1 had briefed her to do in such a situation. Abad began by telling her that she was in very serious situation because he knew that she had had very close connections with QBARC agents. Abad asked whether AM Fauna 1 was identical with Julio. AM Fauna 14 said that the AM Fauna 1 had been known as Julio. Abad then wanted to know about Negrete and had been working with Julio. AM Fauna denied this. Abad asked whether Negrete had known Julio. AM Fauna 14 denied this too, but volunteered the information that Julio had provided Negrete with mail facilities, and that AM Fauna 14 had been the cutout between them. Did Negrete know of Julio's existence? And Abad wanted to know. AM Fauna 14 said that he did not, that she had brought Negrete mail and money, which she had gotten from Julio, and had picked mail up from him and delivered it to Julio, but that Negrete had never known Julio's identity. The truth about AM Fauna 14's relations with Negrete and Bringus, according to her statements to her QBARC case officer in November 1963 in the JM Wave area, is as follows. In about mid-1962, AM Cog 2 asked AM Fauna to serve as cutout between herself and an unidentified agent, and AM Fauna 14 agreed. AM Fauna 14 was driven to the meeting site, which was on the sidewalk in front of a textile factory near Calle 100 in Mariano by AM Cog 2's chauffeur, a Spaniard named Segundo. This agent introduced himself to AM Fauna only as El, you see the word. Basically, it means black, and I'm not going to use it because then I'll get in trouble for somebody. And AM Fauna 14 described herself to him as an employee of an unidentified embassy for contact purposes. This dude gave her the telephone number 294900 or 204900. Later, when AM Fauna 14 began to trust this dude more, she gave him the telephone number of her mother. She learned that this dude's true name was Luis Braulio via Negret, and that he lived in a small room in the rear of the textile factory. The telephone number which he had given her was always answered by a woman whose name she learned to be Maximina Viarnik Negret, has or was born about 1928, was about 5 foot 11 inches tall with broad shoulders and a strong build. He had black wavy hair, brown eyes, olive skin, and a face marked by acne. A.M. Fauna 14 never learned anything about his family directly from him, but DSC officers told her that he was married with one child and that his parents lived on a farm in Pinar del Rio province. Some subject is involved in something. I can't see what that says. Um, I think there's a case number. It says some of this is kind of blacked out or changed, but it says Viara Negret was a member of the Acción Revolucionaria Democratica, which AM Fauna 14 understands to be a successor organization to the AAA of Aureliano Sanchez Arango. He had formerly belonged to an action component of this organization, but more recently had devoted himself to intelligence collection. AM Fauna 14 brought him instructions and money from AM Cog 2 and picked up his intelligence reports, which he delivered to AM Cog 2. She understands AM Cog 2 sent these reports via diplomatic channels to Frank Paez, I think, in Miami, something about Florida, USA, who in turn delivered them to an individual identified only as L, that dude. I can't see the name under here. Something Benitez, maybe. Uh, the last contact with AM Fauna that had with this dude was in mid-September 1963, and when he passed her a report which he said concerned a missile base and a book on communist infiltration in Colombia. Once, when this dude was sick, he sent his cousin to meet with AM Fauna 14. This cousin was Angel Bringas, an employee of an X-ray equipment company at 23rd and O La Rampa, Vedado, and then the telephone number, something here. On various other subsequent occasions, Bringas filled in for this dude. I'm not using the name, it's like whatever. According to what the DSC officers told her, this dude was arrested about 1 of October, was to be shot. AM Fauna 14 asked her DSC interrogators whether it would not be possible to re-indoctrinate this dude instead of shoot him, but they told her that it was not worth the trouble because this dude was a person of low morals who has been shown to Angel bring us when and if he is caught. I'm gonna stop it here and then start again on G because I don't want it to shut down on me for whatever reason. But this is page 15, video 4, video 1 of however, because it's a lot of pages. But anyway, I'll get back to this in just a little bit. I'll talk to y'all a little bit later. See y'all. Bye.